The prosecutor has been saying things like the Troy Davis was a high school dropout. So activists have been wearing buttons that show Troy Davis at his graduation.
Right. Right.
So, and did he have prior arrests? Do you know anything about that?
He's not
like a career criminal.
He's not a case where the evidence against him.
It wasn't like a street thing, a tough street guy, right?
No, as a matter of fact, Martinez says that when he was coming up, his nickname was the UN because he liked to
he was like a diplomat of the
people.
neighborhood.
Yeah.
That's nice.
And I believe he actually
Interesting. Now let's look at the death penalty. First, let's look at it in Georgia, because I'm very interested where the death penalty stands now and what happens when you go out
I think that's very
in
important.
the public about it. Because, this is one case. There's still, how many people on death row? Do you have even an estimate of how many might be in death row in the United States?
On
right
death
now?
row, I don't remember.
Well, they set a date to execute the guy in Virginia. Remember the sniper, John Muhammad?
Right.
They set a date for him.
People are being executed. It hasn't gone away. There's executions happening
still
all over the
happening
United
today.
States.
Yeah.
What has been the climate when you go out there and talk to people about the death penalty around the United States? What's the climate? I know that polls have shown most Americans support the death penalty, but there has been a slight change, hasn't there? There has been a shift.
Yeah, I think that well, first of all, it depends very much on where you are, because where you're talking to people.
Mm-hmm.
The Campaign to End the Death Penalty, the group I'm part of, we meet in Harlem at St. Mary's Church. Mainly because a number of our members, not me, but a number of members are from Harlem. And when we table there, it is not every third person you talk to has an experience, often very negative experience, with the law and the criminal justice system.
Right.
I mean, it is tremendously the amount.
And people tend to be against the death penalty.
Absolutely. The level of repression.
They can accept that an innocent person could be persecuted to the point of execution.
I think people who've had actual experiences with the law can expect and believe that an innocent person can be executed. And as a matter of fact,
yes.
You guys, I'm sure you saw that in the New Yorker did this very long profile about this execution in Texas. It's really the first time they've been able to prove they probably executed an innocent
person. I did see that.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
But I think the death penalty, the number of actual executions has been declining for a long time. I think public opinion is slowly changing. I think the sort of DNA revolution, the fact that they've been able to actually exonerate people. I think there have been, here in New York, there have been something like 22 exonerations.
Wow, it's pretty amazing.
Often for very horrible sounding things, rape and murder.
And then it turns out the person definitely did not do this. Yeah.
And somebody else
now,
did.
Is your organization a national or an international organization? How many people participate in the Campaign to End the Death Penalty?
I'm glad you asked that question. The Campaign to End the Death Penalty is a national organization.
Okay.
We have chapters in different parts of the country. We're actually planning our national convention, which is coming up in Chicago in November. And the campaign really brings a very specific piece to the anti-death penalty struggle, which is we're an activist group, and really the campaign was found. It includes all kinds of people. Like me, I'm an activist, and just I'm outraged by these kind of issues. But the campaign is really about having prisoners, people who have been incarcerated or affected by the system, former death row prisoners, and family members of prisoners as part of the group. So in our chapter in Harlem, we have a number of people who've been one former death row prisoner.
Yeah, falsely accused.
Falsely accused death row prisoner.
Falsely convicted, right?
And family members.
So your organization is against the death penalty, even if someone is guilty, though. Is that correct? Because, I mean, we're talking about Troy Davis. We're talking about that he's innocent. That you're taking this position right now, he's innocent, so he shouldn't be executed. But what if someone's guilty?
Well, I think that you should be against the death penalty. I don't think the death penalty solves anything. I think it's mainly,
So your group's against it either way.
Yeah, I mean,
it doesn't require an
campaign
You don't see it as a
to end the
deterrent.
death penalty.
Yes.
Like a lot of people have what I think is a false idea that somehow the death penalty is a deterrent to violent crime, which is, it doesn't really match the statistics, which show that the vast majority of violent crimes are not premeditated. They happen in a fit of rage, and therefore, how could they be prevented? It's not like the person's thinking, oh, I shouldn't kill this person I'm enraged at because I might get the death penalty. That process is usually not there. It's like, what do you say to me? Bam! Or it might build up for a long time. It's obviously a crime of passion. In most cases. I mean, some are premeditated, but very few.
I think the death penalty in the United States is really mainly about there's been a sort of a law and order mentality for the last sort of period we've lived through, where the answer to every problem is harsh punishment, and so the death penalty is part of that. And I think that ultimately, if you want to do something to make the world a better place, to do something about the real problems people have in their communities, do something about the kinds of situations that people get into where they get into those fits of rage you're talking about, then
which mostly have to do in the family. I mean, I think it's been shown that most murders happen because of jealous rages. I mean, that's like the main cause. So it's something hard to say, well, a person wouldn't do it, something like that. They wouldn't strike out at a loved one or strike out at a person. I mean, it reflects on deeper problems in society.
I think so, and
the violence is bad, but it reflects something deeper with the way women are treated, the way the family is treated, the way society treats the family.
Well, what about a case like John Muhammad, where there's, the one I'm talking about, he was the sniper in Virginia that was with the younger kid, who I don't think they gave the death penalty to the younger boy.
State's evidence. But here's a person who premeditated, planned. He was a mass murderer, basically.
And admits it, right. So then what do you think in a situation like that? Like, do you think a life term is a justifiable
I don't know.
Or?
I think that those kind of cases are always, there's a reason why that's so easy for everyone to pull out, because those kind of cases, the way they're used by prosecutors and
it's very easy to get
the
media
death is like you use those to symbolize. That's sort of like
why we have
the death penalty.
You take these statistically unusual cases that just don't happen every day. But when they do happen, they get so much media attention. It's all anybody talks about for years sometimes afterwards. You'd think it was happening every other day. You'd think Columbine happened every other day. It happens too many times, but it doesn't. It's not the main thing that most people face every day.
And then they sort of distract you with that, and at the same time,
Well, will your organization work for John Muhammad, for example? Like,
would we work for him?
Yeah,
would you to prevent his death?
To prevent the execution.
I think that mainly I don't think he's going to be the face of the anti-death penalty movement, but I think that you have to think about what the death penalty is in a political way. They use people like John Muhammad to get people like Troy Davis, and I think that's.
So you
I think you need to. I think that the debate about the death penalty we have to put it in political terms and talk about not let them distract us with, like you say, statistically unusual cases.
We have half a minute.
Give the information again where people
Ben
can...
Davis.
I do. Yes. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
I have very little time. I do want to mention, for people who are interested in Troy Davis's case or doing something about death penalty, we have a organizing meeting coming up at St. Mary's Church in Harlem on October 13th at 7 o'clock. So please stop by.
That's a week from tonight.
And your website?
is
nodeathpenalty.org.
Nodeathpenalty.org.
Troy's website
is troyanthonydavis.org.
.org?
.org. Yes.
.org. Troy
Okay.
Anthony Davis. Just Google that. It's all you need.